We hear that less is more, but how do we get to wanting less? Let's talk about that today. Welcome, everyone. I'm Bonita from Pennies to Dollars, and I'm so glad that you all joined me today. I'm going to share some of my thoughts today on how we get to the point where wanting less makes us feel like it's enough. And on this channel, I share a lot of my thoughts, my tricks, my tips on frugal living and saving money. I retired early at the end of October. So I have time to contemplate some of these things as I go about my daily life and feel like I have enough. So I just wanted to share some of those thoughts with you today. So, the way I see it, we can either say we want to have less, which is a choice, and we notice everything and we appreciate it and we take care of it and we repair it, or we can say we need things, which maybe if we say we need some things that we don't have, that comes from more of a place of feeling like we're lacking things that we need. And sometimes we need those things and sometimes we want them. Sometimes those words are interchangeable, but they really don't mean the same thing. Or we can say, I have to do this. I have to have it. And that comes more from a feeling of like coercion or being forced to feel like you have to do something. I have to work more hours. I have to pay this. I have to do that. And when we come from an I have to feeling, it's usually not a good feeling because we are feeling like we are being forced to do something that maybe we do want to do and maybe we don't want to do. But that can lead us to maybe doing something that we shouldn't even be thinking about doing. Like, I have to go on this trip across the United States to my cousin's wedding. Sometimes we feel like we have to, but sometimes we really just don't have to. Once our basic needs are met, our well being really doesn't increase with more material things. And sometimes we think those material things will improve our life, but they're really just added things to our life. And I have found since I have been cutting back on the things that I own, there's such a freeing feeling. And I hadn't shared this with you guys, but I actually sold a little piece of property to my nephew in the last couple of months. And as I drove home after signing those papers, I felt such relief that I was no longer responsible for this extra property, that I no longer had to worry about property taxes or keeping an eye on it or any of these things. And I realized that even though this property really wasn't doing anything, I had a weight on me just by owning it that I didn't even know was there. And I thought that was so eye opening to realize that something I owned kind of owned me, even though it wasn't bothering me in any way. It was just there. And by just being there, I had a weight on my shoulders. The balance of having enough, not being deprived, and not having excess is such a fine line. But when you find it, there is such a joy that goes with knowing you have enough and knowing that you don't need anything more, and knowing that if you want something else, you can get it, but you don't need it and you don't have to have it. It's all in the way that we think, and coming and growing through that process is so rewarding once we get to the end. Now, just because we don't need things doesn't mean we don't spend money on things as frugal people. 80% of people check the reviews before they purchase something. That is huge. And that is why we get offers to review things and be paid to review things just so they can get those reviews on there because people look at those. But if we buy nice, we don't have to buy twice. And frugal people know this. They would rather spend a little bit extra money and get something that's going to last and hold up and be a good product than buy multiple things and have excess. Excess does not bring us joy. It's the feeling of having enough that actually brings us joy, but it takes a little practice to realize that. This may be a weird example, but we have one TV in our house and it's only a 29-inch TV. Now, our recliners are set up where we can see it perfectly, and it's perfectly big enough for us for our living room size. We have a lot of windows in this house. If we had a big screen TV, we wouldn't even really have anywhere to put it unless I took down family photos, which I do not want to do. So this TV is enough for us. We don't want a bigger TV because one, we don't have room for it and it would be crowded. And two, we can see the TV we have perfectly the way our chairs are arranged, and we don't need a bigger TV. Now, when I grew up, we had our old used console TV back in a bedroom that didn't get a good signal, and it didn't get a very good picture most of the time. And there was no heat in our back bedrooms. So if you really wanted to watch something bad enough, you could go back there and watch through all the squiggle lines, trying to adjust the antenna and see if you could get a picture that would buzz in off and on so you could kind of tell what was going on. Or when I became a teenager, we had a 5-inch TV. Yes, 5-inch. It ran off of a cigarette lighter in our camper. We took it when we went camping, and once in a great while we would watch it. And so if you've ever tried to watch a 5-inch TV and be up there trying to see it, it was something to behold. It was so small. I know no one could probably even imagine watching a TV that small now. But we didn't really have two TVs. We had the console with no signal, and we had the 5-inch TV that if you were lucky enough, dad might actually let you borrow it and watch it if you begged him enough. So I didn't grow up with a lot of excess, even in our household growing up, and we don't have it here. So maybe that is something that over time you realize I just don't need the extra. I don't need to take up the room in my house. But if we're watching TV, we're both going to watch the same thing. Or if one of us is watching something and the other one doesn't want to watch it, the other one finds something else to do while that person is watching their program. It's really an easy trade off. We have one push lawnmower that we use, and then we do have a riding mower that is used that my son and I borrow and use between the two of us. And we actually store it at his house because he actually has a place that's covered to store it. We have never owned our own riding lawnmower. That's not something we've ever felt like we wanted to put out the money for, because in my day, a used car cost what a lawnmower costs nowadays. And we feel like we need the exercise. We have a lot of things to go around, and a rider just never made sense. So having a push mower was enough. There's a lot of things like that that we don't have, that a lot of people think are commonplace. We don't have a garbage disposal. We've never had a garbage disposal. We don't have a dishwasher. We don't have an ice cube maker. I use ice trays. But all of these things, I still see it as enough, and I'm still happy and satisfied with what I have. I don't want for anything. So, how do you get to that wanting less, it's a choice. It's a choice that I want less. I want a simple life. I don't want a super modern home with all these modern conveniences. I love the country life. I love the simple life. I love the peaceful life. And then when I go on vacation, I'm exposed to more modern things and more fancy things. And it's nice to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there because I miss coming home to my simple ways of doing things. And maybe I'm just old fashioned, but I feel like thinking this way in the end has given me more. It's given me more time at the end of my life because I didn't have so many things that I bought that I couldn't afford to retire early. I didn't have so many obligations that I was still going to be paying on things where I didn't have a choice about quitting work. And so there's trade-offs in everything that we do. And I felt like this trade off was worth it. The trade off of going with less so I could put all 6 kids through college, that was important to me. The trade off of going without as many modern things when I really don't desire them is a trade off so I can go on vacations when I want to. So we all make those trade offs in our lives. Let me know if there's some trade off that you have made in your life that has really benefited you, where you look back and you say, less is actually more. And I am so glad that I chose less. Thanks for watching today, and I hope to see you in the next video.